When most people hear the word shark, they picture a single kind of animal, large, dangerous, and built to attack. But sharks are not one creature type in the casual sense. They are a broad and deeply varied lineage of cartilaginous fish with an evolutionary history stretching back hundreds of millions of years. Some species are classic hunters with sharp, serrated teeth. Others are gentle giants that glide with open mouths, filtering tiny plankton from the water. Some patrol coastal shallows, some roam the open sea, and some inhabit deep zones where sunlight barely reaches. Understanding sharks starts with dropping the movie stereotype and replacing it with a biological reality. Sharks represent a long-running design experiment in survival, and that experiment produced incredible range. Biologically, sharks belong to the elasmobranch fishes, a group defined by anatomy that differs from most familiar bony fish. Their skeleton is made of cartilage rather than true bone, which gives a flexible but durable frame. They also lack ribs in the conventional fish sense, and they breathe through multiple gill slits on each side, usually 5 to 7 depending on species. Their pectoral fins are not fused to the head, allowing fluid movement and strong maneuverability in water. Another key feature is their skin. It is covered in tiny tooth-like structures called dermal denticles, or placoid scales. These denticles are not cosmetic. They reduce drag, protect against parasites, and help the animal move with efficiency. Even at this level, sharks are not primitive leftovers. They are highly tuned marine bodies shaped by relentless selection pressure. Their timeline is just as impressive as their anatomy. Shark-like chondrichthyan forms appear in very old fossil records, with evidence reaching back to the Devonian, and related scale evidence potentially extending even earlier. But that does not mean every ancient shark-like fish is a modern shark in the strict scientific sense. The group we call modern sharks, Selachii, appears later, with confirmed records in the early Jurassic around 200 million years ago. This distinction matters because evolution is not static naming. Forms arise, branch, and disappear, while some body plans persist and refine. So when we say sharks are ancient, we are describing continuity through change. They are old as a lineage concept, but modern sharks are still the result of ongoing adaptation, not frozen relics unchanged since prehistory. Size variation among sharks is almost hard to believe until you place the numbers side by side. At one extreme is the dwarf lantern shark, a tiny deep-sea species around 17 centimeters long. At the other extreme is the whale shark, the largest fish alive, commonly around 12 meters and sometimes much larger. That range means the label shark includes animals with radically different energy demands, feeding strategies, reproductive constraints, and ecological roles. A tiny deep species may survive by minimizing energy use in sparse environments. A giant filter feeder must move massive volumes of water to gather enough microscopic food. Yet both are valid solutions within the same broad lineage. This range is one reason simplistic claims about what sharks are like often fail. There is no single shark lifestyle. There are many, each tied to habitat and evolutionary trade-offs. Geographically, sharks are nearly everywhere in the world's seas, from coastal regions to depths around 2,000 meters. That spread suggests extraordinary adaptability, but it also reveals constraints. Most sharks are marine and remain tied to saltwater systems. A few exceptions, like bull sharks and certain river sharks, can tolerate both freshwater and seawater through specialized osmoregulation. The Ganges shark is even associated with freshwater habitats. These exceptions often attract attention because they break the rule, but the rule still matters. Shark biology is largely optimized for marine chemistry and marine food webs. Their distribution is broad, yet not random. Temperature, prey availability, depth, oxygen, and reproductive behavior all shape where each species can thrive. So while sharks are globally present, each species occupies a specific environmental window that can be disrupted if those conditions shift too far or too fast. One of the most mechanically elegant shark traits is tooth replacement. Sharks carry multiple rows or sets of teeth, and teeth are replaced repeatedly over a lifetime. In predatory species, This is crucial because teeth are tools under constant stress. Grabbing struggling prey, tearing tissue, and impact with bone or shell can damage cutting edges quickly. A replacement conveyor ensures functional dentition is never gone for long. Combined with hydrodynamic skin and powerful sensory systems, this supports long-term predatory efficiency. But this feature also reminds us not to isolate one adaptation from the whole animal. Teeth alone do not make a shark ecologically effective. Success comes from integrated systems, movement, sensing, respiration, skin, jaw mechanics, and behavior. Sharks are not dangerous because of one dramatic body part, they are effective because multiple design features reinforce each other. In food webs, many shark species function as apex predators, meaning they sit at or near the top of local trophic structures. Species like great white, tiger, bull, mako, thresher, and hammerhead can regulate prey populations directly and indirectly. The direct effect is obvious, they consume fish, marine mammals, or other prey. The indirect effect is often more important, their presence alters prey behavior. Animals feed differently, migrate differently, and avoid certain zones when predation risk is high. That behavioral pressure can protect habitats from overgrazing and help stabilize ecological interactions. Remove top predators and those controls weaken. Mid-level predators may increase, vulnerable prey may crash, and habitat structure can degrade in chain reactions. So apex sharks are not just dramatic animals, they are governance mechanisms in living systems, enforcing boundaries that keep marine communities from tipping into imbalance. At the same time, not all large sharks are hunters in the way the public imagines. Whale sharks and basking sharks are filter-feeding planktivores. They process water to capture tiny organisms, proving that huge body size can evolve without a high-level predatory diet. Their ecological role differs from apex predators, but it is still significant. By converting dispersed planktonic productivity into large animal biomass, they connect microscopic life to broader ocean processes. Their movements can track seasonal productivity, and their presence signals healthy plankton systems in many regions. This duality, apex hunters on one side and giant filter feeders on the other, reveals how flexible shark evolution has been. A common structural heritage supports very different ecological jobs. The shark story is therefore not one narrative of aggression, but many narratives of adaptation within changing ocean conditions. Human pressure is now the defining force on shark futures. Sharks are caught intentionally for meat and fins, and they are also taken as bycatch in wider fisheries. Finning, where fins are removed and the body is discarded, became a symbol of wasteful extraction because it decouples high market value from full animal use and encourages volume-driven killing. According to broad trend estimates, global shark and ray populations have seen severe declines over recent decades, with overfishing as the dominant driver. A decline of this magnitude is not a normal population cycle. It is a structural shift caused by industrial fishing capacity outpacing biological recovery. Many shark species mature slowly and produce relatively few offspring, which means they cannot rebound quickly once depleted. In practical terms, sustained high removal rates can push populations downward for years before management systems react. Why should non-specialists care about these declines? Because shark loss is not isolated to sharks. Ocean systems are networks, and removing key nodes changes system behavior. If apex species are reduced, prey structure can reorganize in ways that stress reef systems, seagrass zones, or fisheries that communities depend on. If large filter feeders decline, you also lose part of the biological link between plankton productivity and higher trophic levels. Add climate stress, pollution, and habitat degradation, and resilience drops further. The cost is ecological and economic: less stable marine food webs, weaker fishery reliability, and reduced capacity of ecosystems to absorb shocks. Conservation here is not about romanticizing one charismatic group. It is risk management for ocean function. Protecting shark diversity helps preserve the regulating mechanisms that keep marine environments productive and less fragile over time. Effective shark protection has to be practical, layered, and species-aware. Blanket statements are not enough because shark biology and risk differ across regions and species. Core tools include catch limits aligned with population science, bans or strict controls on finning, reduction of bycatch through gear modifications, protected zones in critical habitats, and international cooperation for migratory species that cross national waters. Monitoring is equally important. Without reliable data on abundance, age structure, and mortality sources, management becomes guesswork. Public narratives also matter. Fear-based myths make it easier to dismiss sharks as disposable, while informed narratives support policy that values long-term ecological function. The central lesson is straightforward. Sharks survived massive planetary transitions across deep time, but rapid, industrial-scale extraction can overwhelm even resilient lineages. Their future now depends less on evolutionary ingenuity and more on human governance choices. So the real shark story is not monster versus victim, or ocean terror versus human safety. It is the story of a lineage that mastered multiple marine strategies, from microscopic filter feeding to top-level predation, and became woven into the architecture of ocean ecosystems. It is also the story of how quickly that architecture can erode when extraction ignores biology. If we understand sharks as functional components of planetary life support systems, the conversation changes. We stop asking only whether sharks are dangerous to us, and start asking whether we are dangerous to the systems that keep oceans stable. That shift in perspective is the most important takeaway. Sharks are ancient, but their current decline is modern. And modern problems require deliberate modern decisions, grounded in science, if we want oceans that remain alive, balanced, and capable of supporting future generations. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.